Well, if you have traveled along Point Grey Road in Vancouver, you may have noticed signs on trees and hedges that say, "Save me from Gregor's axe." Here's the issue. Construction work to complete a 28-kilometer seawall walkway is expected to begin this fall. That walkway will run along Kitsilano's Point Grey Road. A couple of years ago, the city closed the road to commuter traffic and put in a bike lane. Now, the city plans to move on to the next stage of the project, which includes creating a 3-meter-wide sidewalk on the north side of Point Grey Road. That is exactly where the trees and hedges are planted, and that has made many residents upset. Mary Lavin is one of them, and she joins us now on the phone. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Why do you and other residents along Point Grey Road take issue with this project?
Well, there are a number of issues. Firstly, back in 2013, when the city voted on the project and approved Phase 1, which involved the closure of Point Grey Road at McDonald Street, and Phase 2 in principle only. There had been no design put together yet. That decision was largely based on community support. The residents here supported the project by majority and signed petitions in favor of it. We were very concerned about safety on the road because if you recall, it was a speedway with high volumes of cars and going at breakneck speeds. People simply could not use the road in the neighborhood or from other parts of the city. Bicyclists were afraid to come on the road because of the motorist traffic. So in 2013, we supported the project, but we were told very specifically by Jerry Dubrovny, who's one of the city engineers, that there would be no take-back of the setback area on either side of the road. There would be no take-back of that, no removal of landscaping, no reconfiguring of driveways. Drainage would have to be reconstructed, grading would have to be considered, there would have to be movements of utilities. And Jerry Dubrovny told us that it was simply too dramatic. The change would simply be too expensive. It would be in the millions and millions of dollars. And the engineers and city council at that time approved the project with the understanding that that would not occur because it was not fiscally responsible. It was not cost effective to the taxpayers. And that was a decision that was made in 2013. Now here we are in 2016, and pretty much the same city council and certainly the same engineers are now recommending a 180-degree reversal of that. They're prepared to widen the sidewalk not for a bike route in this instance, but to install what they're referring to as an inland seawall because they were not successful in getting the extension of the seawall from False Creek to Jericho Beach on the seaside. So instead, they've decided to create the equivalent of an inland seawall. There's no seaside, so not quite sure why they're referring to it as an inland seawall. There's no seaside. There's very little that you can see of the water. And the walkway that they are proposing is extensively wide. It's over 9 feet, 3 meters, with a front boulevard of another about 3 to 4 feet. This would narrow the roadway, bringing what we now have, which are thousands of cyclists, squashing them together on the roadway, which would make the roadway extremely unsafe. It would also destroy what right now is a cycle route for people of all ages and abilities. That would no longer be the case.
But the city of Vancouver says that wider sidewalk would create more space for people walking or running and allow for actually better sight lines for cyclists along the corridor. So what's wrong with that?
We've actually had independent engineers reports, traffic engineers reports done that have declared in no uncertain terms that Phase 2 will be unsafe, and I'm quoting directly from the report. The reports have also said that people coming out of the driveways and going into the driveways, there is no question that there will be casualties. And again, I'm quoting from the report. These reports were provided to City Council, and despite the fact that they were provided and that the city engineers provided no such comparison reports, the city engineers simply said to the council that they believed that their Phase 2 proposal would be safe. And on that basis, council decided to go ahead and approve the project. It was not unanimous. All of the Vision councillors supported it. The NPA councillors did not. So it's concerning, and it should be for all citizens, for all residents. It's concerning that a council would approve a project which has been declared by experts, traffic engineer experts, as unsafe. And one has to ask the question why they would go ahead and do that.
Well, this is a report that you have commissioned, but we did speak with city engineer Jerry Dobrovolny, and he says if there are any safety concerns from residents driving in and out of their driveways, they actually stem from their own doing.
A number of owners along that corridor have encroached onto city property and have put, in some cases, walls or fences or plants out on city property. And it's those encroachments that are blocking visibility. We're improving the sight lines so that any vehicles that are coming out of driveways or going into driveways will have a much clearer view of first pedestrians that they would be crossing on the wider sidewalk. And then once they've crossed the wider sidewalk and the median, then they'd have a much better view of vehicles and cyclists as they enter the roadway.
Mary Lavin, how do you respond to that?
Firstly, what he's not telling you is that by extending the width of the sidewalk such that it will be a 9 to 10 meter wide sidewalk, in order to do that, to come back into the frontages of the properties, the setback area, this involves removing what is currently a buffer zone between the edge of the driveway, the top of the driveway. Many of these are steep grade driveways. So they're sort of like ski slope driveways going up, and where the edge of the driveway is right now, there is a buffer zone between the driveway edge and the sidewalk edge. By moving that sidewalk back into the frontages, the sidewalk edge will actually meet up with the driveway edge, which means that there is little to no buffer zone, such that there is no space, and he's actually just admitted that himself, there will be no space for the cars coming out of these driveways to flatten out, to become parallel with the roadway. They won't be able to do that until they are actually on top of pedestrians, that is, on the sidewalk, by his own admission. So there is no buffer. There would be no buffer zone for the cars to flatten out, to be able to see pedestrians coming and going. That will only occur when the cars are actually out on top of the sidewalk. And his comments about the walls and the shrubbery and so on, even if you were to remove those, which is the city's plan, that does nothing to address the issue of the grading of the driveways and the removal of the buffer zone.
Okay, Mary Lavin, I will have to leave it at that. Certainly a lot to talk about on this issue. I appreciate you joining us this afternoon on it. That's Mary Lavin, who is a Point Grey Road resident.